And viewers, the Supreme Court has said that comedians now have to take comedy seriously and they can't just go around and make remarks that will hurt the society. The Supreme Court has given YouTube personality Ranveer Allahbadia a royal in a row over comments about parents and sex during an episode of stand-up show India's Got Latent, a measure of relief after it said no further police cases could be filed against him on the matter. The court also told Mr. Allahbadia, who had claimed death threats to his family and himself, he could approach police in Maharashtra and or Assam, two of the places where FIRs have already been filed against him for protection of his life and liberty in cases of threats. Supreme Court also came down very heavily on the YouTuber. For more on this, I'm being joined by my colleagues Nupur and Anuj on it. Nupur, let me come to you first. Take us through the details of what exactly Supreme Court said to Ranveer Allahbadia.
Well, today, while listening to his petitions in which he had sought an anticipatory bail, he had sought protection for his life and liberty, citing threats to his life, the Supreme Court made really strong, scathing remarks against these obscene remarks that he had made in the India's Got Latent show. Justice Surya Kant, who was heading the bench that was hearing the petition, minced no words while criticizing Allahbadia for his comments. The Supreme Court said that what can be more perverted than this? This is the Supreme Court also said that it's not that the judges are living in some ivory towers and they are not aware that he has copied this verbatim content from a European YouTuber, and the Supreme Court said that they are also aware that where this remark is coming from and what was his intent in making these remarks. The Supreme Court said that there can be no justification for the kind of remark Allahbadia has made. However, making certain scathing observations against him, the Supreme Court has granted him interim relief in the form that the Supreme Court has stayed his arrest and till further hearing. The Supreme Court, however, has granted this interim relief while imposing several conditions, tough conditions on Allahbadia, which includes that he cannot leave the country without court permission, and he will have to in fact surrender his passport today itself in the Thane police station. While imposing these strict conditions on Allahbadia, the Supreme Court also said that this Allahbadia has to cooperate with investigation completely, and he cannot be accompanied by counsel while he is being investigated. The Supreme Court came down heavily on Allahbadia for these remarks and said that this is the actually an outcome of a very dirty mind, dirty, perverted mind. And in fact, when his lawyer, Dr. Abhinav Chandrachud, mentioned that he has been receiving death threats, which include people making videos that they will give 5 lakhs prize money to anyone who harms Allahbadia in such a way. The Supreme Court Judge Justice Surya Kant said that even those videos had better language than Allahbadia. However, the Justice Surya Kant said that in case of threats, law will take its own course, and the Supreme Court will not grant any relief in the form of providing him security or anything. The judge said that why should the court entertain such persons using such language? That's why the Supreme Court today has refused to grant any such protection to Allahbadia. However, the court has said that he can always approach the police in case of any threats to him.
Right. Nupur, stay with me. Anuj is also joining me from Maharashtra. Anuj, while there are multiple cases filed against Ranveer Allahbadia, he has also been asked to cooperate with the probe. Tell us, what can we expect from the probe next?
That becomes a very important point, especially considering that ever since these summons have been put out by different agencies, investigative agencies, or even National Commission of Women, that not fullest of cooperation has been provided by these panelists, especially by Ranveer Allahbadia in this case. We have Jaspreet Singh, who is not in the country right now. We have Samay Raina, who is also not in the country right now, whose teams have clarified it to the police. And then Ashish Chanchlani and Apurva Makhija have presented their case in front of the police in form of recording their statements at the Khar police station. But it is Ranveer Allahbadia who is in the country and has also been out of reach and has been unreachable for the police. It's not just him, but even his legal team is what we know has been out of reach for police agencies on multiple occasions. And this is something that he cannot afford to do here on. Of course, he's gotten relief as far as his anticipatory bail is concerned, as far as no more FIRs being filed against him in the future in different parts of the country is concerned. But that does come at one of the strong conditions, as was reiterated by Nupur earlier, that he will have to firstly submit his passport to the Thane police station, which means that he cannot leave the country, and secondly, he'll have to give his fullest cooperation to the police and investigative agencies moving ahead. Where we stand today, his next summon, the next summon was issued for the 24th of February by Maharashtra Cyber Cell. He had either not responded to the earlier summons or had responded to them negatively by asking it to be a virtual statement recording session. Neither of it has gone down very well with the investigative agencies, which is why all eyes will be on the 24th of February, because the court today has not minced its words by stating that they require full cooperation of Ranveer Allahbadia, as far as the investigation is concerned, which is why he's not left with any other choice but to present himself in front of the police on the 24th of February.
Right, Anuj, stay with me. We also have Nupur. Nupur, the court also provided relief to the podcaster, saying that he will not be arrested, but the main point was that no further episodes will air of that controversial show, India's Got Latent. What can we expect further for all the panelists who were there with Ranveer Allahbadia?
Well, today Supreme Court, while pronouncing the order, has put this condition on Allahbadia that he and his associates, to quote the court has said that he and his associates cannot participate in any such show going further till further court orders, that till the case is pending. So it will now be important to see when a detailed court order comes. It will be crucial to see that whether the court has stopped Allahbadia from airing any show, or can he actually go on with his own podcast that he runs? Can he even do that? Because that would be more clear once a detailed order copy is uploaded by the Supreme Court. But by going by what the Supreme Court has today said while pronouncing order, it appeared that the Supreme Court has barred Allahbadia from going to any such shows in future till further order. So this in itself is a big jolt to him. And while the court has mentioned his associates, so it will be also important to see in the detailed order that does it include those people, other people, Samir and other people who had taken part in that show, India's Got Latent show.
Right, Nupur, stay with me. We also are being joined by Dr. Nisha Nujumuddin, academician and public policy expert. Thank you so much, Dr. Nisha, for joining us. Dr. Nisha, how do you see the Supreme Court rebuking Ranveer Allahbadia over that crass comment that was made on the show India's Got Latent?
So we all know that this is not an issue that is kind of welcoming by the Indian society as a whole. The kind of obscene remark, the vulgarity that was actually being showcased by Ranveer Allahbadia is not at all acceptable. This showed a lack of professionalism in his entire career, and whatever he has built over the years, it absolutely proved to be in vain, not in boon for him, right? So now, today the Supreme Court has come up with a decision saying that whatever is being said or done by Ranveer Allahbadia is not to be even appreciated 0.1%. At the same time, when a person is receiving death threats, we know that Article 19 talks about right to freedom. So now doesn't mean that anybody can talk anything they want, right? But now, keeping that in mind, what Mr. Ranveer Allahbadia has done on a show that India's Got Latent is absolutely not acceptable. At the same time, when he kept on receiving threats, that were death threats from across the people, now it is very important as well for the Supreme Court to make a point that we need to give protection to a person. Just because he passed a comment doesn't mean that he's supposed to be killed. A proper action has to be taken for what it requires. So Article 20 talks about right to protection of life as well. At the same time, there are so many other writs of habeas corpus and other perspectives which give a special protection when a person is receiving certain death threats. So in that particular context, what the Supreme Court has done is something that is quite appreciable. At the same time, the court never said that whatever Mr. Ranveer Allahbadia has done is absolutely right. He deserves a kind of punishment, or he has to cooperate with whatever is required to make sure that such kind of things are not repeated. This is not one Ranveer Allahbadia. Looking at him, many youngsters, many upcoming children, because we are in the age of social media, they get influenced and they feel that they can do whatever they want, they can pass any comments, because the comment passed by him is putting a question to the cultural, the ethnic, the modesty of our social values as a whole, right? So now for that, that he has to face the consequences. But now it doesn't mean that we should deny the protection to a person just because a comment has been passed like that. And he also feels sorry for that. But again, saying 5-letter word sorry doesn't mean that. We should forgive him for what he did. Because when you come to a public platform and when you are kind of a celebrated personality as well in the media, you need to understand certain things and you need to behave like that. Mr. Ranveer Allahbadia, in the context of comedy, in the context of so-called dark humor, he would have forgotten that. But then he himself claims in a video saying that, no, I didn't intentionally mean to hurt anybody. But then anybody can say anything once it has happened. But now taking into consideration that this should be a lesson for many other YouTubers, many other social media influencers to keep a kind of limitation or kind of bar or boundary on what they should speak and how they should speak and when they should speak in what context.
Right. Dr. Nisha, you are an academician yourself. Tell us what kind of an impact does it make when such popular YouTubers and personalities make such comments?
Being an academician, I would say that now I teach for the universities and also I train the UPSC aspirants as well. People of the age, especially the youngsters, they tend to follow such kind of YouTubers for the fact that they are fancy, fan followings and all those things. Now they try to imitate them for the fact that they have a huge fan following. This is causing a kind of bad message, or let's say a kind of negative popularity has been propagated. At the same time, people think that in today's world, they do not even focus on what is ethical. They feel that everything is ethical. Even the unethical things seem to be ethical because we are living in a society where there is more freedom and we have to, so-called shun all that, traditional, conventional perspective. So many students who have come across, when they talk about the modern world, the societal influences, they say that, ma'am, it is okay. It is kind of, we are living in the 21st century, so you should think a little forward. But thinking forward doesn't mean that you will forget your own cultures. There are certain other group of students, especially the girls students who came up to me and said on this issue, stating that when somebody is passing a comment to you, even in the form of a joke, look at the kind of acceptance that people are having, stating that it is a show, we get more popularity. So we are paving a way for the people to actually take over us. So there are multiple perspectives like that. I think such kind of shows are proving to be a very bad example, especially for the youngsters. Why? Because today the youngsters tend to imitate, copy, and kind of blindly follow all these kind of social media influencers under the context of this fan following, the so-called, ultra modern scenarios and all. So this has to be regulated.
Right.
A proper regulatory mechanism has to be put forward on what they should talk, how they should talk. See, I'm not telling you what they should have in the context when they appear in public platforms, how they should structure themselves. Why? Because this is not somebody is passing something just like that. It comes on a platform where lakhs and lakhs of people are watching it. Not once. It is still available after so many years also. So,
so Dr. Nisha, this sends out a message that comedians now need to take their comedy seriously, as well as all the popular celebrities out there need to make sensible comments when they are speaking on public platforms.
Definitely they have to see. Why are we educated? Education is a weapon that can be used to change the world. Change the world is what we study. So now education should not be taken in a different way. When you tell that you are educated, when you tell that you're literate, you need to understand something, the proper usage of words. When somebody is telling you, hey, get out, and somebody is telling you like, hey, you may please leave the room and come back again. There are two different ways of addressing the same. So we need to learn the art of diplomacy, the art of telling what we want in a very nice manner. And in something that is acceptable rather than being harsh. Now, such kind of vulgarity, sexuality, obscene comments are kind of getting popular among the teenagers and the youngsters these days because they are kind of pushed or they're kind of prone to watch all those videos and get influenced by all those things. So I would say that be it any YouTuber, be it any celebrity, even the politicians, if you say, the other day I went through an Instagram article of a lady stating that you speak about Ranveer Allahbadia that he did a crime or something. He just passed a comment. But then they were comparing that to the political speeches that were made. See, in the political scenario, you cannot mix that with this India Got Latent show because he was addressing this to a lady again. And now these kind of shows are something where where the youngsters tend to get inspirations to go for the show, to kind of bring themselves up in a platform and all. So when you use such kind of words and then comparing that to a political scenario, how the politicians do a kind of hate speeches is absolutely nonsense. There are different groups of people who get actually divided in such kind of thoughts. So, but I would say that as an academician or let's say as a very normal person also, I would say that certain things of vulgarity, obscene and such sexual languages and that too questioning the integrity, questioning the ethical morality of our Indian
Right.
societal culture should not be encouraged even 0.1%. No matter whoever it is, they have to face the consequence. But that doesn't mean that
Absolutely.
Ranveer Allahbadia has to be killed. Okay, he has the right to live, but he should face the consequences for what he has done. Proving it to be an example for all the
Absolutely.
other youngsters who are coming up in life. Yeah.
Absolutely, Dr. Nisha, thank you so much for highlighting such important facts and why it is important that the Supreme Court is coming down so heavily on this YouTuber and podcaster Ranveer Allahbadia, aka beerbiceps. Commentary should be responsibly done.